Hello and welcome to Matt Chambers Connects, a podcast hosted by Matt Chambers. This is the podcast that transcends boundaries, empowers cross-cultural connections, and fosters a more connected world. I'm your host, Matt Chambers, and I invite you to join us on this quest to expand our understanding and build bridges between my two favorite places on the planet, Latin America and the United States. I've been traveling, living, and doing business in Latin America for nearly 2 decades.
So Tyler, what's up, man? How are you?
What's going on, man? I'm good, man.
Good. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. How's everything? How have you been?
I'm doing well, man. Just living life, living here. We're from Medellin, as we're looking out this window, see, the mountains and all the buildings here in the valley, but just here working remotely, that is, and enjoying life.
Yeah, good deal. Yeah, no, man, Medellin, it's been so fucking hot, man, the last couple of months. Normally it's, 70 degrees, 75 degrees average temperature, and I've been here the last 2 months, and it's just fucking hot, dude. It's like I'm sweating just waking up in the morning.
Yeah, we're in the summer months, I suppose, It's not really winter, it's not really seasons here, but that's what they say, winter months versus summer months, so less rain, so a little bit of sun.
It's so funny, when you're in the U.S. and you hear winter, you think snow, freezing temperatures, icy roads. And when people here complain about the winter, it means it's raining a little more than usual. It's down around 65 instead of 72. Is it really winter? Like in our mind, is it really, can we consider that winter? I don't know.
Nah, you have to go to the mountains, I suppose, to see some snow, but, or maybe down in the streets, I don't know, but, yeah, that's nice, man. I don't like the cold, so this works for me.
Yeah, no, I don't like the cold either. I used to live in Minneapolis, used to live in Chicago, and God, it was miserable, dude. You can't get outside 7-8 months a year. No, it's miserable. Medellin, 70, 75 every day. Well, except for December, January. I think it's been in the 90s most days, the last 60 days. But either way, man, awesome city as you know well, and I know. Man, take me back. When did we meet originally? I think we met at Dance Free, right? We were both trying to learn to dance.
So I think we're on year 6 of knowing each other because I came here first, May of 2017. I don't think I met you my first time here. I said May to July, and I think when I came back is when I met you.
Oh, we didn't meet in the beginning because I remember vividly being in class and those people saying, "Oh, man, you should meet Tyler." I didn't have any clue who you were for several months. And then I saw your crazy ass coming in there and taking portero classes. It was like the only white dude I've ever seen dancing portero in Medellin, Colombia. I'm like, who the hell is this dude?
Yeah, man, I kind of grew up here. So,
Yeah, you did. You were what, 20 when you came here?
20 when I came here. So I finished school pretty early and decided to come here in between, go to work for KPMG, right?
Yep.
I was like, this would be a cool spot. I come. They say you come here and it's hard to leave.
So speaking of being a boy, I guess, and getting to work with KPMG, why don't you take me through that? I know you grew up as a young guy in Texas, and then got your master's in accounting, and then obtained your CPA, and spent some time with KPMG and some other major.
No, yeah, I understand accounting is very boring for people, right? But
it's fucking terrible on the sales floor. It's the worst thing I could possibly would think of doing.
Yeah, taxes and whatnot. But more numbers it's not too complicated for me. Basically, I started in New Orleans actually after Katrina. I got sent to Texas. Lived around with different foster parents, and then got adopted. Did high school in Texas. Started working at restaurants, and then was obtaining my university degree during that time, right? So
I think you told me when you were working in the restaurants, I mean, you weren't just flipping burgers in the end. I mean, you might have started off like that, but you were managing at some point, right? And you kind of worked your way up the ladder pretty well.
Yeah, so at 15, I started car hopping. So it's like a waiter for cars at Sonic.
Is that one with like the people that like come car to car and like hang your
Correct.
food out the window?
So that's how I started. I got a management role there. Then went to Whataburger, became a restaurant manager there. And then, I had my life. I went to university, just worked, taking a master's degree in 3 years. And then so I did take a little break.
Yeah. I get it. Come a little bit closer to the camera. I'll edit this part out later, but for some reason it's not picking up your sound very well from that side. That should be good. Good deal. So how long were you with Whataburger?
So I did 2 years at Sonic, and then my general manager got me on a Whataburger as a manager. 2 years there, the whole time, going to school full time, working 50, 60 hours a week.
Plus school.
Plus full-time school. So, 15, 18-hour course loads each semester, no breaks, winter school, summer school. That's when I finished in 3 years. Right. So then I did an internship with KPMG, and then I had a tough decision to make. I got to renounce the restaurant life to be able to accept a job.
Yeah.
For what I went to school for. So,
did you do that?
I had to do that.
So you renounced the restaurant life, went to KPMG, spent some. Was that just for your internship? So you renounced?
I had to do it for my internship. So it was like December 2016. I graduated high school May 2013. So 3 years. Yeah, basically. I got the master's. Did the internship from January 2017 to April. And here in May. Right.
Why'd you come here?
So one of my cooks at Whataburger the year prior, I got real close to him and his family. He's Nicaraguense from Nicaragua. He'd invited me for Christmas in Nicaragua. And then I went back again. I ended up spending a total of 6 months there. And so going there, I was like, this is great. I love this. But it is third world, right? Nicaragua, right.
So it's Colombia.
Yes, categories is third world, but I had heard Colombia was a happy medium, right?
Uh-huh.
It wasn't quite as
third world,
humble as Nicaragua,
yeah,
but it wasn't the United States. So that's what I wanted, or Mexico. I've been in Mexico, and I just thought it was the U.S.
It's the same damn thing.
So yeah, like
they just speak Spanish there, right?
No, for sure. So, and I live in Texas, so that's basically Mexico as well. So, yeah, so that kind of got me in that, okay, let me see what this is about. Just booked a trip from May to July, came here, lived in like a barrio, like, way up there with the family. They took me to a finca. First day they took me
finca, a farmhouse.
Farmhouse,
people that
right.
listen, you're like, what the hell's a finca? He's saying that the family he lived with took him to a mountain house, which is a popular thing in Colombia.
Yeah, what I'm related to in Texas, like a lot of when we're in high school, the families for the week will go to a lake house. So this is not a lake there, but it's just a pool with a house out there.
They're generally big, massive houses that maybe have a lot of them have 10, 20, 30 bedrooms. I mean, the big, huge ones, right? I mean, they have 30 bedrooms and they'll house all the cousins and the uncles. The idea is that they're built to house the entire family. So that's the idea. Yeah, going back to Mexico, man, I spent some time there last year, and I always think it's funny for guys like you and I that have had a lot of experience throughout all of Latin America, pretty much. When people in the States tell me, "Oh yeah, I've been down there, I went to Mexico," and I'm like, that doesn't even count, dude. Like Mexico is just it's no different, not much different than going to Destin, Florida, except for it's cheaper and they speak Spanish. And it's a little bit of a different experience, but especially if you fly out of land, wherever, and you end up in a resort in Cancun, and all you do is fly into the airport, you get a fancy bus or limo, right, to a fancy resort. You never leave the resort. And I'm like, did you really go to Mexico? Like, there are parts of Mexico that, are definitely.
No, I actually, so when I was working KPMG, it's a little bit fast forwarding, but in Dallas, one weekend, our boss was like, hey, you guys have a 3-day weekend, right? You don't have to come to work on Saturdays. We work on Saturdays. So I had this bright idea from Dallas to take a bus down to Mexico. So I left at like 6 p.m. Crossed the border at Laredo, the Nuevo Laredo. 3 a.m. woke up, went back to sleep on the bus. First town I got to was Matehuala. It's like a little pueblo in Mexico. And so I got out, ate, very humble town. And got back on the bus. And then I went to San Luis Potosi. It was like in between, you see these big highways and everything. Clubbed out there, had a great night. Got back on the bus. Ciudad de Mexico, Mexico City on Sunday. Flew back for work for Monday.
No way. So, dude, what'd you think? Did you get time to spend in Mexico City, or were you there for a short time?
About like 12 hours.
God, what a great city, man! It's like it's way bigger than New York, right? And I don't know if it has more culture. It certainly has more Mexican culture than New York, obviously. But I was just amazed by that place, man. Mexico City. Just everywhere you go, there's culture. There's learning. The food's incredible. I just had an incredible experience. But from someone like you who's now had, you've chosen to live in Latin America now. You're living here for the last 6-7 years. What aspects of the lifestyle and culture do you find most appealing that work for you?
Yeah, just that I hate to compare this comparisons, like, the people do it. But, living here, people are less cool, right? They're more friendly. We don't really have that in the West anymore. Maybe back in the 50s. The neighborly and whatnot.
I'll be further back, right?
Back, yeah. So
1850s, man.
But now you go back, you can't, here you've got to say hi to people. You walk past the store, the corner store, the panaderia, where they make bread. You say hello.
Hello, how are you? For like 3 minutes before you ask for what you want.
That doesn't happen in the West, right? And every time I go back, I do try to bring a little bit of that there, right? But that is where I truly enjoy.
I have this funny story about that. I was here full time for pretty much full time. I would say like 7-8 months a year for 5 years straight, and you get used to that, right? The hey, how are you? How's your day going? Before you ever ask the question, which obviously, like you said, you're not used to in the United States. But I had spent like 8 months straight here at one point, and then so you're used to this, and then went back to the U.S. I went to Miami. People in Miami, rude as shit. Yeah, just mean as shit there. But I'm on Muscle Beach on South Beach, and right on Muscle Beach where they have the outdoor gyms and stuff.
Nice.
And here, if you take your bag and you have a computer in it to the gym, and you ask the lady at the front, hey, do you mind taking care of my bag while I work out?
Yeah,
not a problem. Yeah, sure. Let me take it and put it in a locker. They just put it in their office, whatever. Right. Well, I was in that mindset, and the first day I got to Miami, in my apartment that I rented, I'd go out to Muscle Beach for a workout, but I had been at Starbucks earlier that morning working on my computer. And I sat my backpack on Muscle Beach. There's a building that houses all the weights at night, and they lock them up so that way no one steals them, right? Well, I sat my bag in the corner behind everything so no one would steal it on the beach while I worked out. But there was a guy sitting in there, and I asked him, I was like, do you mind just making sure, watching my bag while I'm working out? He was sitting in there. That's all he was doing, was guarding the weights, right? And he looks at me and goes, well, I'm not a watch boy. How long are you going to be gone? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I'm going to do some sit-ups, bro. Like, I'm going to do some sit-ups, maybe some push-ups. And so I think when you get used to this and then you go back and you experience that, it's a big slap in the face. You're like, oh, shit.
No, the people there, they can't be bothered with small tasks like that.
Mm-hmm. And I get it. They're Americans, we're all busy. But at the same time, I think your point is we probably lost that human element, that ability to build friendships, true friendships. And, I tell that to people that live there all the time. They're like, oh, I got friends from 30 years ago. I'm like, do you really?
Mm-hmm.
I was here for a year straight at one point, or something like that, 8 or 9 months straight at one point. And then I went back to have a lunch with a buddy. It was my birthday. Not a big deal. I don't care that much about my birthday. But I go back and I texted him up and I said, man, I haven't seen you in a year. Let's catch up. And he's like, dude, I can see you at 1:00 on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, right? 1:00 in the morning. I'm like, okay, 1:00. I thought 1:00, we'll hang for a couple hours. I haven't seen this guy in a year, right? We're close friends. Bro, at like 1:56, he's like, I got 4 more minutes soon. I gotta go. Dude, that, and then it hits you in the face. You're like, oh man, we're
schedule my outings with friends.
when I have to not only schedule my outings with friends, I might understand that a little bit because people are busy, but if I haven't seen you for a year, come on, dude,
it's like forever.
Pick a time where we can spend an afternoon together, catch up for 4 hours and 4 hours a year. So yeah, no, I understand that. And this place is certainly a lot more comfortable in that regard. But so let me ask you this though, from moving from Big Four accounting firm to living in Latin America is obviously it's got to be a hard decision, dude. Most people in the States most CPAs or even people that aren't CPAs would long to work for somebody like KPMG, right? How do you make that transition from that corporate job to Latin America?
Yeah, so it was always the goal, right? It was always the goal. Once I started working at KPMG, I was coming back here, for holidays, 3-day weekends and whatnot. In Dallas, where I started at KPMG, I asked for the transfer to Miami. Okay? They granted me that transfer after 6 months. So a little bit closer to Colombia, right? I was able to go back and forth. And then the pandemic just sped everything up. So I was probably one of the first ones, probably the first one
that went remote
at least at KPMG, to go remote international, right? And nobody knew what I was doing. They didn't even really understand the rules out there, right?
At that point, it was just starting.
Now. People are like, hey, you can't do that. You can't do that. But yeah, I took my laptop and I went to Colombia.
How'd you balance that though? I mean, here you have a relaxed lifestyle where people, okay, they work 8 hours a day, but not really, right? I mean, they're working, but it's in a relaxed environment.
2 hours.
Boss doesn't care if they leave to go and take their kid to the doctor for 3.5 hours. It's just like a more chill environment. How do you balance?
Yeah, it's different. The values in America that we put kind of like on your career first. Here, it's more family oriented. These guys like having good times. There's a lot of holidays. You ask what holiday it is, they don't even. They just don't take the day off. Right? So that was very, especially being young, I want to go out, I want to party. Everybody's asking, why am I not able to do this? The holidays don't coincide. And everybody's off, but I'm still working. Yeah. So that I had to learn, right? It's very tough. But yeah, you just self-discipline, you got to do this. It's the least you can do. You're making American money, right? And then you're living for a fourth of the cost, right? So you just got to respect it, And then, obviously it gets even easier once you go in, right?
Sure.
Then you don't have to worry about the boss and you looking over your shoulder. Hey, he's in Colombia, so that's why he's not on the computer,
Yeah, that part of it gets easier, but as an independent person myself, I feel like people that have never worked for themselves think that working for yourself is the easiest. And if you work for yourself and it's easy, then you're probably not doing things right. Because I feel like if you're an entrepreneur or working independently, you work twice the amount because you just do. You're doing so many different jobs, right? You can't get off at 4 and just stop when you have your own thing.
But the thing is, you don't want to.
That's right.
No, you don't want to.
You're doing what you want.
You get passionate about it. So I'm never passionate about doing audit at KPMG. Right? It was just a way to build experience. I learned a lot. I'm very grateful for the opportunities. However, now that I work independently, I don't want to sleep. I want to burn both ends.
Yeah.
I jump out of bed, right? I'm of course probably putting in more hours.
But it's what you want to do.
And I'm building.
Exactly. So for a successful Westerner, someone in the U.S. that has never lived internationally, but would like to, what advice would you give them on how to get started with that, or how to, I think there's a big part of that people have to get their mind right. right? I mean, I've talked to people who have studied for years and built spreadsheets for years, built PowerPoint presentations for years on where they would go and how the money would work out and all these different things they're trying to piece together. And, of course, my advice with everything in life is, hey, man, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm 15 years old. So it's like something hits me, an idea hits me that I think I'm going to enjoy it and be passionate about. I should do it. There's no question. There's no spreadsheet.
Right.
I'm just doing it. So what's your advice for those types of people that are sitting in the United States right now, looking for a new life, but maybe don't have haven't built the courage yet to make that happen?
Look, you still have to, make calculated risk, right? I would say book a flight first. It's not hard to book a flight. Make sure you have all the shots or whatever. Here, you don't need any of that. You just need a US passport, right? Book a flight, on here or a few different places, see what you like. Talk to some Americans or from whatever country here that you can speak to. See how they live. See if it's for you. Then start thinking.
But I think there's, even for me, way before I started traveling, I would look around like, where do I really want to go? Like Latin America was always a thing that was in my mind, but I didn't know where I wanted to go. I mean, if you just sit home and Google, there's 22, 23 countries down here, something like that. And, a million cities within those 22 countries. So how do you figure out where you want to go? The only way is just to pick a couple places and go, right? Go for a couple months.
Sure. But what do you value? Like, that's not like, Colombian women are beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. I went to Peru, not so much. So you value that? And if you do, that's fine. Be honest with yourself. Because here you're going to find plenty of it. Yeah. What else do you got? Weather, right? It's nice here. Eterna primavera.
Yeah.
Spring.
The eternal spring, the city of eternal spring. Yeah. If those are the things you value, then yeah, of course, Medellin's an incredible place. It offers so much more than that, though, right? Like I don't think that there's no ability. There's no ability to sit home in the United States and freaking Kansas and get on Google and learn everything you can learn about any place. Right. There's no other way than just to go experience it. Would you agree with that? Like if you were to look up Medellin, Colombia, you're going to see all kinds of stuff that once you get here, you may not even experience. Right?
Yeah, common fallacy is that it's dangerous, right? Dangerous. Whatever city you go to, there's spots you don't go to.
Yeah.
Si gustas, vas a encontrar. If you're looking, you're
going to find it.
Yeah. So, you just got to know where to go. So do a little bit of reading, but don't, bore yourself or psych yourself out with reading statistics or stories because, it's outside of Chicago. It's not very
Yeah. I lived up there, man. It's brutal. And my mom came to visit me one time. This is probably 20 years ago. My mom came to visit me. We were looking for Giordano's stuffed crust pizza. It's one of the top two. There's Lou Malnati's and Giordano's that I
got this one. I'll think of it in a second.
Giordano, those are two of the most famous ones. And I think like Lou Malnati's might be the most famous, and then Giordano's is somewhere maybe in the top 5. I'm not really sure, but I had found it on Google, and I really didn't know the city that well at the time. Mom's there. She's never had stuffed crust pizza, Chicago style stuffed crust yet, but the Chicago style pizza. And I'm like, Mom, let me get you a Giordano's, right? So we order it, and I thought it was close to my house. At that time, I was living in Bucktown, which was close to Lincoln Park, and all that, Wrigleyville, and all that. And so I was living there, and I didn't realize that the address where we ordered pizza from was literally in one of the worst parts of Chicago.
Yeah.
So I take off driving, GPS, right? GPSing through Chicago, not knowing where I was. And we ended up in the place, man. These people look like zombies. They weren't even walking. They were just like floating around. In Medellin, I would say, yeah, you could find that. There's places in Central where you can definitely find a lot of. But you have to go looking for it.
Oh, I could take you, but
you gotta go. You gotta want to go there, right?
Right, we don't want to go.
You're not just running into zombies, right?
We're not going dressed like this. We're going home with it.
Yeah, exactly. So let's switch gears for a second. You and I.
By the way, Gino's. You ever had that one?
I think you're right. I think Gino's is one.
There's it's like a 4-floor restaurant.
Yeah.
In Chicago.
No, I think I remember that, and I don't remember if I've ever had it. I lived there for about a year and I went to a lot of places. I know I've had Lou Malnati's. I know I've had Giordano's. All I know is that when we went to pick up Giordano's, man, I was scared for our lives. I'm like, oh my God, I just brought my mother.
Yeah.
I've been selling her on this pizza, for a month, right? And I just brought her into the worst part of freaking Chicago to get it. I'm going to get my mom killed. Like, I'm really seriously worried about it. And that could happen in Medellin too. But again, you have to try.
Sure.
Right. Well, let's go back to the salsa dance thing that I kind of mentioned earlier. I know you've been more of a cumbia porro dancer, which is a local folk dance more in Medellin. But that said, you end up learning them all, so you defend yourself well with all of them. But how has that cultural integration played a role in your professional and personal life here?
For sure. So, example, in the U.S., say you go to a club, right? Bachata song comes on, Are you going to go ask some guy and his girlfriend to dance?
Yeah.
In the U.S., you're not going to do that. Here, that's common practice. It's normal. Yeah, it's normal. Wherever you go, you're switching partners all the time. Yeah. So you get used to just going up to people. You're more social and everything. So you see that, right? You're doing that. That first time every night, the first one you have to ask is the hardest. And after that, it's easy. You're good. Yeah. So that helps build up confidence. You can take that to work, to everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. When I first came down here, I didn't really have not that I didn't have the guts. One, I didn't dance. So you don't have the guts because you don't know what you're doing. But then even when you start learning, it's so weird that everyone's dancing with everybody's boyfriend and girlfriend and all this stuff. And then, yeah, you're right. It just becomes a natural thing and no one cares. I think I'm repeating what you said, but you do that in the States and people look at you. It's kind of dancing.
Right. Yeah.
What's wrong with it? And especially when you're rolling into a Latino bar and you're the only white dude in there. It's like, or cutting up the rug, right? You're cutting rugs. And these guys are like, oh, what? Yeah, I come from.
It's uncomfortable. Yeah. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. So what about the language? I know you do really, really well with the language. Where would you say I know where I think your comfort level is. I see you speaking it on the streets. You do very, very well. But what's your personal comfort level and how'd you go about learning it?
Yeah, so I got lucky, living in Texas, growing up with some Hispanic families, working in the restaurants. I love reggaeton from like 9 years old. Dance, bachata since I was 15, right? So I started learning things, working in a restaurant in Texas. Took a test that said I was fluent before coming here, right? But you get here and it's like, oh shit,
surprise.
I'm a little behind. Yeah. Now this is easy. Colombia is easy, right? What's left, to advance my Spanish is honestly going to other countries and getting as comfortable with them speaking as I am here.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point that I think people who don't have any language skills should know. And for me, it still happens.
Yeah,
I definitely consider myself at a pretty high level of fluency, not quite native yet, but high level of fluency in the language. But no matter where you learn it, if you learn it in Mexico City, if you learn it in Venezuela, if you learn it in Argentina, wherever it is, when you learn those colloquialisms and the way they communicate, and then all of a sudden you get a flight to another Spanish-speaking country, and you're just learning. You're almost learning anew, right?
Well, we can all understand each other, right? Like we're going to be able to, but there's just these Arabic, the slang words. Maybe one word means something, it means something different. So, but
I had that happen. I don't know if I told you that, but in Venezuela, they use the word arrecho, arrechera. They say that kind of stuff in Venezuela. Well, arrecho in Venezuela means like I'm pissed. It can mean I'm pissed, or it can mean like really cool. Like this, arrechera means like, that was cool. Or estoy arrecho can mean I'm pissed, right? Generally it means I'm pissed. But in Colombia, it means I'm horny.
That's what I also thought that too, because it's similar to the word arrecho.
Exactly. It means that in Colombia. So I was talking to this Colombian girl when I first came to Colombia, and I was pissed off about something else. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't like her. It was like something else was going on. And she's like, what's going on? Like, why are you? I was kind of grumbled, irritated. And I was like, At that time, I didn't speak much of the language. I didn't understand those differences that you're talking about. And I look at her with this like pissed off face, and I'm like, estoy arrecho, which is like in Venezuela, I'm pissed, but here it's I'm horny. And she's looking at me and she's like, well, your face doesn't tell me that you're horny. Your face tells me you're pissed. And I'm like, that's where I learned the difference in those two words.
Well, I guess those two emotions, those two words could be linked, right?
I guess, but I'm not using her pissed off face.
And she's like, well, let's go take care of this problem,
Exactly. Yeah, I guess that's true. I didn't think about it that way. But so this is your second language. Spanish, your second language. Yeah, I started learning a third, but knowing what you know now about learning, I think there's a big piece of language learning that's learning how to learn that language, right? Now that we've learned how to learn language, what are you going to do your third time around when you go to learn a certain language? What do you think you'll do different?
What I do different? Good question. Maybe this time I will just go to a school. I never went to a school for Spanish, and maybe going to school would be easier.
Yeah,
but maybe less time. Maybe I'll be able to pick it up quicker.
Yeah,
because Spanish was just street traveling, and then before you know it, figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't go to any classes either. I mean, I went to some, right? The ones that forced me to go to, and then everyone told me that, needed to go to class and all this stuff. And I tried it. And this class shit's not for me, man. Like, it sucks. And, it sucks. It's they put you through this. Yeah. I mean, I know people that have studied Spanish for 12 years. And my Spanish is better than theirs at this point. Your Spanish is better than theirs at this point. Because all they're doing is reading books. So I don't know. I don't know that.
Well, I'm saying like that coupled with going out dancing. Because going out after a few drinks, you're a little bit more confident to speak. You're gonna learn a lot more, right? Yeah, so I don't encourage drinking like more than you should, but I would say that gives you the confidence to go out and speak. Yeah, I hear all these guys here in Colombia. Once they have a few drinks, all of a sudden
they think they're full.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're great. So I would say that get out there. Don't be scared to go to the grocery store and buy things.
Yeah. Because that's even if you're not speaking, just being at the grocery store and looking for green olives, right? Mm-hmm. You still have to look at the bottle. It's going to be in Spanish, or the jar. It's going to be in Spanish. And so there you start picking up vocabulary. Every experience that you have has a different vocabulary, which you may not.
Exactly.
If you only speak one language, you probably never learn that because you just learned it so naturally as a kid.
That's why it's fun to do, for me, sometimes it's the first time I do something in Spanish. Oh, it's the first time you go to the zoo in Spanish. The first time you play adventurous, chess in Spanish, or yoga, right? So that, for sure, I think is important to have those experiences in Spanish, right? Learn things in Spanish. And then also, I would say you just need to make sure you have likes in that language. If you don't like music, or if you don't like a TV show, it's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah, for sure. I think I think that's important. To me, in many ways, it's like a person that doesn't like to go to the gym, right?
Mm.
If you don't like to go to the gym and hop on a treadmill and go lift barbells, that's cool, right? You don't have to do that to be in shape. You can also walk through the jungle. You can go swimming in a lake. You can do cool things that don't make it so boring. You can go on a bike ride. And I feel the same about the language. I think you're right to your point. Like if you start to fall in love with the music, right? Or soap operas. If you like soap operas in English, maybe you like soap operas in Spanish, movies, whatever. And then you start slowly picking it up in a fun way,
right?
As opposed to going to class for 3.5 hours a week, learning grammar. I mean, I just don't care. I don't know one grammar rule in Spanish. Not one. I don't know what stuff. I don't know one. People are like, oh, the present participle. I don't have any anything to it. But throw me in the jungle and I can.
Yeah, no, I'm not proud of my ignorance, but I would say, or however, I would say that stuff's, I guess, important. But what I do every week is I go to the movies, right? Mm-hmm. Something like that is extremely for sure, right? You got to get over that. Sometimes it's gonna be tough, right? Which Americans are like, but we also need to think about. We're fortunate to have Hollywood and everything. Most of the great movies that come out are American, right? Yeah. If you get over that, you're gonna pick up a lot. just going to the movies once a week.
Plus, let's not lie, you also get to go to the movies every week with a very beautiful woman.
Sure, yeah, I'm going to qualify myself.
We've been dating us for a long time, so very, very wonderful woman you get to go watch a movie with every week. So it's you win in several ways with that. But so I think I'm circling back a little bit, but to go a little bit more in depth with, for someone that hasn't had this international experience, living in a different region, especially a different country, comes with different financial considerations, right? Can you discuss for the listeners how you've navigated the financial aspects of living and working in Latin America, especially coming from an accountant, you guys?
Yeah. No, that's super important, very important. I would say that should be one of the higher priorities when you're planning on coming, right? You need to know how you're taking out money. You need to not get lazy and just take out money every time from the same, cajero or ATM that you see down the block. Learn how much fees you're taking and how much you're losing, right? And figure out how other people do it, right? There's accounts, we both know one that they reimburse your ATM fees wherever you go, right? There's another ATM here, right? That is notorious for if you decline the conversion, right? Right? They ask if you want to convert it, then it's $1 for peso, right? You don't lose anything. So I would say that's extremely important, right?
Yeah, it's such a little scam going on here. I don't know what the hell that decline the conversion or accept the conversion.
So crazy.
I don't know if I told you this, but for many years, I did that. I would accept the conversion. But just for the people listening, you go to these ATMs and they ask you, do you want to accept the conversion or decline the conversion before you finish the transaction? I used to think that declining the conversion meant, I don't like this amount, I'm going to go to another ATM, so I cancel. And what it really means is if you accept the conversion, you're accepting the lower rate that bank wants to pay you for the money you're taking out. And if you decline the conversion, it turns that over to your bank in the U.S. So your bank then gets to look at it and say, and they give you a better rate, essentially.
Yeah, they're like, the dollar is how many pesos today? Right, let's just give them that.
Guaranteed, I probably lost $10,000. Yeah, for that bullshit.
And it's hard to think that way, and it's true in my case as well. But you have to, and then you just have to move forward. And say, hey, going forward, I'm not doing this anymore.
Mm-hmm. And another thing I think is important, and you do really well with this. It took me years to really figure this out too. I used to translate the conversion in my head, right? Yeah. So I would look at something that's 30,000 pesos, which at some point back in the day was about $10. Now it's like $7 or something. Yeah. But I would look at 30,000 pesos and be like, it's $10. I don't care. Right. But you can get a meal. If I was paying 30,000 for that meal, what I wasn't calculating or even thinking about was that I could have gotten a very similar meal for 12 or 15 somewhere else. Right. And so I think it's important, especially if you have that strong dollar against the currency where you're living, it's important to think in their money. You need to. You look around at the end of the month and your bank account, you're like, shit, I spent money. Right. So I spent a lot of money translating or trying to convert. And I think when you come to a country like this, you just forget the conversions and start looking directly at their prices.
You need to, because here's another thing. Even though the dollar says it's this much in pesos, you can't, like, I have money at the house, US dollars and coins. I have like 20 US dollar coins. They don't accept that here. Yeah. So is it worth anything? No. So, and also you gotta just plan just in case for some reason you can't pull money out for an extended period. Just, be smart.
Weird stuff happens.
We don't have our American banks physically here. That's the issue. Right? So eventually this will take a little bit longer. Eventually it's a good idea to have money coming in here some way. You pay it somehow here to a bank here. And then you're safe, right?
There's just all kinds of weird, to your point, there's all kinds of weird things that happen when you're international, right? I mean, I have a Charles Schwab bank account and a couple others, but I use my Schwab most in Latin America. There are ATMs that literally, I go to the ATM, they'll just tell me the banks don't communicate. Mm-hmm. So my bank and their bank don't even have a relationship to where their ATM here recognizes the card, or the opposite. I'm not sure exactly how it works. So it's not like you can just walk up to any ATM
No.
and take the money out.
No. But
For the most part, you can.
right, there's big banks. Like the biggest one here is Colombia. They're everywhere. Normally, I tell all my friends that come here, like that's guaranteed almost.
It is guaranteed, but man,
That's the
screw you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm like a customer.
yeah, we can definitely customize. Say whatever the hell we want.
That's not. I don't think
my show, dude.
But yeah, exactly. Sure.
Say whatever the hell you want. I'm a free speech guy, dude.
That's tough.
So, given your extensive travel in Latin America, right? You've been to several different countries, I know, and you travel a lot in Colombia. And if people Google, it's obvious they're going to see the big places, right?
Yeah.
What are some hidden gems, or I guess lesser known places that people might find interesting that you found that
In Colombia or
wherever? This
Yeah.
isn't just a Colombia thing. This is
sure. Okay. Yeah, expanding it a bit. I've been to Mexico. We talked about that a little bit. I live in Nicaragua, right?
Oh, that's right. You lived there for
6 months.
Yeah.
So Managua is the main city in Nicaragua, and then León is where we're staying. It's a pueblo. There's a family there that has a big estate, and then every weekend we take a 2-hour trip down to San Juan del Sur, which is on the border of Costa Rica. So you're basically getting Costa Rica, but in Nicaragua.
Wow.
So that's a hidden gem, I would say. And like if you think Colombia is cheap, you're going way cheaper in Nicaragua. So, but maybe not as beautiful people.
Yeah.
Depends on what you like, or maybe not as many centro comerciales, shopping malls like we have. We're so blessed, all these shopping malls.
Yeah, if you're coming for beautiful people, it's Colombia or Brazil, right?
Yes.
If that's all you're interested in, it's not that you won't find beautiful people in other places. It's Colombia and Brazil.
Yeah.
It's for physical beauty, and to me, just incredibly nice people. But you went to some cool places in Peru that kind of off the beaten path, right?
Peru, yeah, we went to got into Lima, and what a culture shock. Lima, yeah, everybody has a car.
Yeah. You come from here where most people have a motor.
Yeah, barely see that. It's Lima's so weird because it's a desert, but it's on the ocean. So the whole time I was there for 44 days, no sun,
None.
we never got sun.
I've been there. I was there for about a week. It's great.
Yeah, every day is great. Ciudad Negris, what they say.
Is that right?
Yeah. So, but from there we went to Cusco, right?
Cusco's about an hour from Machu Picchu, just for people that are listening. It's kind of the town that most people stay in. It's the big city. It's the capital, I believe, over there where it is, I believe. It's big for if you're
for
that part of
for that department.
Yeah, it's not big, but it's the biggest city close to Machu Picchu. And that's where most people end up staying. And then you have about an hour long trip into Machu, depending on how you go. There's a million ways million tours they tell you to get to Machu Picchu, so it depends. But about an hour and a half, right? Something like that.
Right. So that was more of like, I'm not really a backpacker trip guy. So like
you don't start as a backpacker.
No, I didn't. That's probably the first time we were kind of like that. We go to Cusco, and like you said, from there, Machu Picchu one day, the mountain of 7 colors another day, all this different shit to do, right? And then I go back to Lima, and I'm back in my comfort zone. I'm a city rat. I like going downtown. I like architecture. I like mixing with the people.
Having all these restaurants.
Yeah, and then I go back to my apartment. I'm working. I'm working abroad. Yeah, it's a beautiful life.
I think you just gave 4 or 5 different places in Latin America that most people that have never been down here and done the extensive travel that you and I've done wouldn't even. You can't even Google a lot of these places, right? I mean, I guess you can, but you got to really, really, really dig. I think Latin America is just a place where you never get bored, right?
No
matter what you want to see. If you want lakes, you got it. If you want ocean, you have mountains, whatever it is, like it's here. So
everything's here. And then jungle as well. That's something I still haven't done.
The jungle's massive, dude. I mean, I did a hike through Peru, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
There's several different hikes when you're in the Machu Picchu region, Cusco region.
You didn't do like an Inca Trail, did you?
Well, the Inca Trail is backed up, right? It was backed up for like 2 years, so you had to literally apply.
Yes.
And then once they approved you, it was like 2 years before you could go. because it's deteriorating significantly. And so I couldn't get on it. We decided kind of last minute to go. I couldn't get on the Inca. The next best thing was the Salcantay. And Salcantay has a lot of history if you look it up. But I believe it was about, if I'm correct, about 50 or 60 miles of hiking. It's something crazy, a crazy amount of hiking. And, you start out from somewhere a little outside of Cusco, and then you walk. It was 5 days. It was 4 nights and 5 days. And the very last night, you end up, you're going to Snow Peak Mountain. Right. You went all the way up to 15,000, 16,000 feet above sea level. People needed oxygen. Not everyone. I didn't need any. I took some medication.
But you end up having like a headache at all.
I had nothing because I had prepared. I was in Bogota, right? And Bogota is 8,000 feet above sea level.
Right.
So I had gotten some medicine for the altitude and started taking it for about a week before in Bogota. And then once you get into that region, the coca leaves, right? They sell.
I was in that.
It's for the people listening, coca leaves. It's actually the leaf that they use to make cocaine. Obviously, there's a process involved in making that. So it's not the drug you're taking, but you're getting just actually the raw ingredient, right? And they sell these dried out coca leaves in bags all over Peru, Bolivia, and those places. So once I got to Cusco, I started chewing on these coca leaves because it's also about 8,000 feet above sea level, if I'm correct. So I had gone from 8,000 to 8,000, something like that. And then the next day we started hiking and we went up to 15. We doubled the altitude. I definitely felt it, and you get tired and you're exhausted. But there were people with us that weren't prepared. They had to hire horses to take them on. They had extra oxygen tanks. People were on oxygen walking over there. So it's serious. You walk up to 15, 16,000 feet above sea level, and then you go down the other side. And then, you make it into a town called Aguas Calientes, which is essentially Machu Picchu. Yeah. And then the next morning you wake up, it's after 5 days of hiking, you're exhausted. Your body's just, you don't have anything left. Oh, you walk up and you have an hour up those stairs to get to Machu Picchu, but man, does it work.
No, every morning when we're there, Cusco, we do these different hikes. It's like, wake up at 4 a.m. It's 2 hours wherever you're going, and then 2 hours back. I was so happy to be done with it. But wow, it's like going there, you're not spending a lot of money for these adventures, right? So it was fun, but we did have a little bit of a headache. At the beginning, I was like, I heard about it, right? It's like, that's the average person, right? One fit, whatnot. That's not going to happen to me. But, I did have a slight headache, after a few days.
For sure. Well, I was lucky because I had prepared significantly for it. Taking the altitude medicine helped me out a lot. And, I guess at that time I was in pretty good shape. I lost a lot of weight on that trip. Just in 4 or 5 days, you're walking 50, 60 miles and it's up and down hills and across lakes and whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was probably the opposite in my case because the food was so good there.
It's incredible.
Everybody's papas, fries, and different potatoes in there.
Did you have the alpaca steak?
I had a papa hamburger. I wanted to start with the burger first. Yeah.
I had several alpaca steaks, and you almost feel bad about eating them because when you get to Machu Picchu, you finally get to Machu Picchu, which is magical, right? When you realize it's worth it. I'm walk 100 miles to see that. Yes, because I found it just to be absolutely magical. And I know that's kind of a weird word, maybe an overused word, but I find it to be just absolutely amazing place. But I had eaten several alpaca steaks before getting there. And then you get to Machu Picchu where there's all these alpacas, live, real alpacas. There's hundreds. They're just kind of a little Machu Picchu pet. And then you kind of feel bad. You're, man, I ate this nice little animal stuff. And I love eating animals, don't get me wrong. I'm a PETA guy at all. Carnivore in every way. But for some reason, those alpacas, I had a little soft spot for.
It's unusual for us. The next step would be koi.
Oh, I eat one of those too.
I have not had that. That I would feel very weird about it. They're pets in the U.S.
Yeah, they are pets in the, but they're disgusting pets, right?
I suppose so.
I find guinea pigs.
They're nicer than mice or rats, though, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Same thing, I suppose, that rodent.
I guess I have to study that because, I had friends that as a real small child had these hamsters and they're disgusting. And for some reason, I rope in guinea pigs at that same thing. I don't know. But when I was there, we were hiking through the jungle on that same hike, the Salcante Trail. And these guys that were guiding us were like, hey, do you guys want to have koi? And we're like, sure, whatever. Why not? We literally go to this guy's house. No lie. It's a regular house. And we walk through his living room to his back door, and he has all these little guinea pigs fenced in. And the guy goes out and picks out the guinea pigs, and he grabs them, puts them in a bag live, ties the bag up. And they're moving and squealing the whole time. We're in the van, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do this, right? And so we get to this.
So this guy's factory farming guinea pigs.
Dude, he wasn't even factory farming. He had a backyard fenced in it. I'm sure you've seen this in Texas, right? Yeah, these dudes with like a mobile home or whatever, and in the back they put a fence up, and they have something like that, right? It was this type of situation, and you walk through his front door, through his living room, out the back door, onto his little deck, and there's like 100 guinea pigs. You just pick the ones you want. They stuff them into like a feed sack, right? Like there's like, I don't know, burlap sack or whatever. And so we have 4 or 5 of these little sacks with live guinea pigs. And then we go back to the place where we were staying. And I didn't even want to know what happened. I was like, well, you know what happens, but I didn't want to see it for sure.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, man, they bring out this big exquisite plate with these whole guinea pigs. Obviously, they're skinned and all that stuff at that point. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah. Sure, it doesn't taste like a pig.
It doesn't taste like a pig. It tastes maybe like a rat would taste, I guess. I don't really know. I certainly didn't enjoy it. I don't know. I'll eat anything to try it once, right?
I suppose so.
That's just how I work. I've eaten a lot of weird stuff over the years with all my travels.
Yeah.
And most stuff I would go back and eat again. I don't think I had any reason to eat a guinea pig.
Yeah, I think I could get you on one though. Would you ever try dog?
No.
Okay.
No, I love dogs.
Exactly. So
they're amazing.
that's one thing I would never try.
You can do that.
Yeah.
But when I was in China, I spent a lot of time in China.
Exactly.
Building my mattress business out. I saw some weird stuff.
I'm sure you.
I saw some weird stuff. It's like, I was one of the people that back in the COVID days, which, they were like, all this disease came from bats at a wet market in China. And I was like, it did.
Sounds crazy for us. But if you've been there.
That's the bullshit they were making.
Yeah.
But, and it very well could have, but it didn't.
Right.
And now we know that it did it. But I had been there. I'd been in those wet markets and seen a lot of weird stuff. I was like, possibly.
What you been there?
I mean,
they're not known for sanitation. Let's just put it that way.
Sure, man. For sure.
Yeah.
China, I had some good experiences there. Been there 3 times, and every time that I went, I spent at least 3 or 4 weeks every time. And, it takes some getting used to, for sure. But I think something that's really important that people probably want to know, someone that's already made the decision to come here or making the decision to come here, is making connections. Obviously, Latin America is a place to make connections. How have you done that? How have you built community and formed connections? And what role has that played in your experience here?
For sure. So I think I've found it's good to have a good mix, right? When you come here, you got to remember the reason you came here, right? You're not here for the American experience, right? You're here for the Latin American experience. So you want to make sure you're making those connections with the locals and whatnot. At the same time, you are going to yearn for that, another American or European that cannot understand you. Mm-hmm. So you want to have a group of expats,
but not too much.
Not too much, because then you're just creating America. And then in the U.S. or North America, in the U.S., that's what Americans complain about the most is Hispanics or Asians come over there and they just stay in their communities. They haven't learned the language, right? So you don't want to be that, right? You want to learn the language. You want to, be within the culture, right? Do things, but you also want to have some American friends here to relate to.
Yeah. You're going to need an outlet at some point. Things are going to frustrate you.
You got to vent. Yeah.
Yeah. The only way to get through it is to have those guys that understand
Right.
your frustrations for sure. And it's not a negative thing. That's going to happen no matter what country you go to. If you go from the United States to Canada, United States to Italy, United States, wherever it is, you're leaving your own country because you want to experience things you've never experienced. And one thing I never understood about America, we're the worst for that, is everywhere that there are Americans, they try to turn that place into America, into the United States. And that's the reason most people leave, frustrated or they want something different.
Right.
And then, so to me, it doesn't make sense to go to a place and try to turn it into what you left.
Well, I'll say, find what we do better in America. And I think there's one we do a lot better. Say you go to a restaurant here, compare like customer service at a restaurant compared to customer service at a restaurant in America.
Oh, it's so much better there.
Exactly. So then look at that as a business opportunity. Oh, these guys don't really know good customer service. All right. So let me have a business that's with you in a second, because here it's just, mañana, ahorita, a little bit, they are not quick to give you the bill. They're not quick to fill up your water.
Oh, yeah.
In America, they're at the orders, right? So,
well, I think like the rule at most restaurants in the United States is, you want to go greet the person within the first 30 seconds, right? And get them the water back within the first 2 minutes.
Touching that, you're touching tails. We used to say in the restaurant industry, the manager, he's getting out there and he's going, hey, all good? That doesn't happen.
You may not get greeted here for the first 10 minutes.
You won't.
You'll be sitting there at the table twiddling your thumbs for 10 minutes. Like, where the hell are these people? And yeah, that's one thing I learned. It took me a long time to learn.
Yes.
I used to go out 3 meals a day. I'd go out and eat breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I quickly realized that every single meal, there's no way you can go to a place that doesn't take at least an hour, or if it's lunch or dinner, it might take 2+ hours. Everything's so slow. So if you have a busy day, eat at home, man.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You got to stay home.
Right.
Do you see yourself living? You be in Latin America long term? Think you'll be here the rest of your life?
I'm still very young. Right now, that's the goal. I know it sounds crazy, but I haven't had any ambition to go to Europe yet or Asia. To me, South America is still very unexplored for myself. For sure. I haven't been to Cono Sur. Like, I don't know Argentina, Paraguay, Bolivia, Brazil. I've never been to. There's still a lot here to see. So I want to keep exploring here. At the moment, this is my home base, right?
Yep.
And from here, I'll take trips for a few months within the Americas for now.
Do you miss the US at all?
I have a love-hate relationship with the US. Mm-hmm. So during the pandemic, when I came here, the lockdown was a little more stringent here. Brutal. They had toque de quedas for a whole weekend, which is lockdowns for entire weekends. Miserable. So come March 2021, I decided to accept a consulting role that had me traveling 100% of the year, 100% of the time. So, and I was thrilled. I was happy. I was like, I'm seeing Detroit, I'm seeing Chicago, Indiana, Ohio, Jackson, all this stuff. So that was fun for a year.
Yeah.
And then, you remember the goal again. As things start getting normal here, the world goes back to normal. It's like, yeah, America sucks, paying a lot of money for the same things. Less thing. Not having as much fun when I go out. People are kind of like, So then again, I come back here, working from here. How can I do this? How can I do this? So figure it out.
For me, it's always seems like it's always 2 months. At the 2 month mark, in South America, I'm longing for that American mentality. And my American side really comes out and I need to get back to the US now. And then I get back to the US, it just hits you in the face. The culture shock. It's more of a culture shock for me now to go to the US than it is to come here.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. No question. But if you were to pick out a few things that you miss the most about the US, what would that be?
I do, like I said, I miss the customer service, right? I miss just the small manners, that we have, you waiting for somebody to come out of an elevator before getting in. Here, these people,
Right.
we're a little more orderly when it comes to lines. You don't fucking wait in lines. They just run up to the counter. It's like, hey, I was here.
They make lines, but they skip.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll skip you in a second.
So there's that. There's more, I mean, things I miss. I guess there's more education. The U.S., right? So you're gonna have a little bit higher level conversations
There.
or there.
Yeah.
Here, because we're both American.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But there for sure.
Yeah, here the conversations
It's few and far between. And when you find it here, it's like, wow, this guy knew about American politics. It's like it's incredible,
Yeah, he's an educated guy. I'm gonna be friends with him.
Exactly. In the U.S., it's like, sure, but I don't know about them. Seems shady,
Yeah, I got you find yourself you're right. You find yourself making friends with Americans here that you probably wouldn't be friends with here so much. Just because you do need those higher level conversations, all those things. But yeah, I find myself just maybe teetering on the edge of being a little bit of a nuisance to my friends here who I find educated, because I long for that.
Right.
I long for that high level conversation, business, whatever it is. I've really enjoyed my time in Latin America. I love it. It's time for me to go back to the other side though, but it's an incredible place. And for somebody that works remotely fully and is comfortable, working from wherever, I think you'd be doing yourself a massive disservice if you work remotely or you're already retired, have a bunch of money and you don't want to work anymore, whatever the situation is. If you don't actually have to be in the U.S., I think you're doing yourself a massive disservice by not exploring anywhere in the world. It doesn't have to be Latin America. I don't care if you go to Italy.
Sure.
Learn so much from travel. I mean, I would say before I started travel, I wasn't near as intelligent as I am now.
Oh, right, exactly. Yeah.
For sure. But what do you miss the least about? What was what you missed?
I hate to make this about money, but spending $2,000 a month on an apartment, in Miami, spending $20 to go eat lunch.
And it's not even that good of a lunch for $20 in Miami.
Right, parking $20.
$20.
Yeah. I could go on and on with the price differences, right? Yeah. So that obviously that's a huge reason. Sure, it's just nice. But however, it was more fun over in America, right? Also it's so political in the U.S. Here, you don't really talk politics here a lot, which it's probably good, in the U.S. it's all politics. Yeah. What are you, Team Trump, Biden, Team Red, Blue?
Team Trump.
Well, if
you're giving me that choice, I would fucking Team Trump.
Yeah, so it's like it's just this constant, listening to like Joe Rogan, he looks like tribalism, right?
Yeah,
he's very right. That's what it is. You don't really see that.
Yeah, you don't. You really don't. I guess to sum it all up, the U.S. is, if you only are concerned about business and making money, man, you should never spend 1 minute anywhere else in the world besides the United States. If you're wanting to speak with if you want to have high level business conversation every day, there's probably no reason to ever leave the United States if that's your only goal. And I have friends that I go back and meet with them and they don't have any stories other than how their business is doing. They don't have anything to talk about. The only thing we can talk about is their business because they don't have shit else to tell me. And I get a little bored with that.
For sure.
So if you're that person, I would say stay in the U.S.
Yes.
But I think those people are probably going to get to 80 years old and I was thinking about this today. I think that guy that's only done business gets to 80 years old and has a lot more regrets.
Yes.
Than the guy here that gets to 80. It's like, oh my God, all these crazy cool life experiences, right?
I agree. 100%.
I've lived both lives.
Yes.
I've lived in high and great places in Chicago, Atlanta, right in the heart of Buckhead. I couldn't have lived a higher end life in Atlanta. Miami, I've spent time in all those places. And, frankly, I see people here that are way happier than the people I met in all those places.
think I have it figured out, with the work-life balance, that cliche thing, but for sure.
Some people do, but some people are. I would say a lot of people here are. They're struggling for a reason because they're not working enough, right?
It's true too. So that's, it's hard to say, hey, wake up, get to work.
Well,
Make some money.
I've learned, I don't think you can wake someone up that doesn't want to wake up.
Yeah.
It's
so ingrained in the culture there. There's not that drive, you want to get things done.
Yeah, they don't.
That we have,
Yeah, they don't have it. They don't have it. But so what are your current future plans, say professionally, personally, I guess maybe near future, immediate future?
So I'm really excited right now. I'm at a really good point in my life. I did KPMG, right? 5 years, and then did that consulting role for a year and basically learned the business of consulting, right? Yeah. And I took that. I was like, why can't I do it myself? And I guess I got extremely lucky. I left them and it immediately was booked independently as a role remote. And then again, I got booked. And then again, immediately. So 3 times in a row, I was like, wow, this is incredible. But the third one was 100% remote, but they wanted me, to go there quarterly to Los Angeles from here. So it's kind of annoying. So I cut ties with them because then they offered me a job and I said, I'm not going to do that. So now I'm continuing, more independently, but even
you're doing some independent accounting.
Even people outside of the US now, right? I've kind of expanded my knowledge. Now I have an IFRS certificate, International Financial Reporting Standards, for other countries now. So now I can do that.
You can do it like international accounting.
Exactly. So I just expanded my opportunity, right? Working with somebody in Australia right now, for example. So I'm excited about that. I'm at a point where I'm literally seeing my monthly income go up each month. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying to, become rich here first. And sure. Maybe it'll give me a desire back.
I think if you're working remotely, becoming rich here is better. It's easier, right? Because there's so many, we kind of hit on it, but there's so many things that you can do here that are some of the best fun you ever have in your life for free or for very little money, right? You're not doing shit in the US for free. You go to a salsa dance class, okay, cool. It's going to be $25 to get in, right? And then they're going to bitch at you, especially in Miami. They're going to bitch at you for being in there and not drinking. Right? So it's like looking at you weird. Here, you can go and sit in a place for an hour and a half, drink coffee, and no one cares if you order anything. It's just a cool environment. But so all that said, I think there's a hell of an opportunity there for the international accounting thing because there are a lot of firms in the U.S. that just won't even do it. They won't touch it.
But you were with me when we went to that coffee shop up in Always Money.
Yeah.
Zendaya, the owner, stopped and talked to me because I was wearing a KPMG jacket still. He asked me about his accounting situation. He didn't know how to work their software in a coffee shop. So, that right there, that was an opportunity. Yeah, sure. So, and I haven't really marketed myself that yet here. Maybe I will in the future.
Maybe you just market yourself to the Americans that come here.
That would be because honestly, to work for, places here, they couldn't pay me.
No, they can't pay.
It would honestly just be for fun, for sure. Just learning,
which wouldn't be so bad, right?
It wouldn't be so bad, just a few jobs.
Because if you do learn the accounting, the tax codes here, then
they're learning a lot.
You're going to be able to do that for all the Americans that come here that live more than.
Yeah.
If you live here more than 6 months, you have to start filing taxes and all that stuff. So you could easily be that guy. Yeah. These guys would totally pay an American prices just to know that it's getting done the right way.
Exactly.
Because here, it doesn't matter if it's a lawyer, a banker, an accountant. You can ask 10 people anything, you get 10 different answers. Because in Latin America, unfortunately, there is just not a uniform set of rules for anything. Like in the States, there's a uniform set of rules. Every accountant has to go by the tax code that's written by the government. Right. Some know it better than others, obviously. But here, I think there's this communication error. For sure.
A little more
things change. They don't tell people they change.
They're laxed on tax rules. Right? For sure. They don't, in the U.S., you don't pay your taxes. You don't file. You're going to prison.
Oh, you're done. It's over.
People get the email. It's time to file. Hey. Yeah, they don't file.
For sure.
So, but they're gonna get us, the Americans that come over here.
Well, for sure.
They're gonna make sure they hound us. If we try to leave the airport, we have a fine.
Well, we're gonna be the ones that go.
Yeah. So it's
not me, man. I'm not staying more than 183 days. So
yeah,
that's all you.
So.
But all right, man. Well, hey, it's great to have you on the show. I'm glad you took the time out to come do that. Really, really added a lot of value to the lives of my listeners. And is there any way that they could reach out to you? Are you open to reach out to you for your services or your advice?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. Tyler Wayne Toad, right?
Tyler Wayne Toad. Is that what's your funny?
You can just look me up on LinkedIn. I don't want to give my email to the world, but
yeah, the LinkedIn is best.
LinkedIn probably be best, right? Yeah.
Tyler Wayne Toth on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you're fine.
Man, I hope this thing grows for you. I'm sure it will. I think you got a little niche, but probably not a lot of competition down here. So, especially with your background. So, all right, guys, if you guys need this guy, reach out to him on LinkedIn. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks, man.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Matt Chambers Connects. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes where we'll dive deeper into these two fascinating worlds. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Matt Chambers Connects. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube Music, and many other major podcast platforms so you don't miss a show. Also, please join us on our social media channels so you can connect with other listeners and ask your most pressing questions. And also tell us what types of guests you'd like to see on the show. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.